The advice, don't leave money on the table, for me, it's bad business advice. It sounds ambitious, but in the service industry, it's actually a trap that brings you burnout, misalignment with clients, and underpricing. So today, let's challenge that mindset. Welcome back to the Art of Virtual Assisting with me, Stephanie Lopepe, your host and the founder of Virtually Steph. We have all heard it. I've heard it. Don't leave money on the table. But as a virtual assistant, that mindset actually keeps you small. Let me explain. I remember when I started out as a VA, right? I would get many offers, right? Especially when you are positioning yourself as somebody who works with small business, somebody who buys your time back, etc., right? Or at least give your time back, right? I used to get a lot of offers, and I will feel so uncomfortable to leave money on the table, right? So, and the advice that I would get a lot often, which I don't blame anyone would give that advice, is don't leave money on the table, just adjust the scope to fit the budget that's on the table. And now, close to 4 years later, that advice doesn't work for me anymore. And I have taken the brave decision to leave money on the table, right? Why? Let me tell you. Because not all good money or not all money is good, right? When you just say yes to any business proposal that comes to you as a virtual assistant, you get misaligned clients. And I know when I made that change, right? I felt like I was giving more to my clients and I was not receiving more, right? So I would just say yes to a, let's say, 5,000 Rand budget, but the work that I would do, that work requires a 15 or a 20,000 Rand budget. But I'll just say yes because I felt like I would lose out on money. What it did is that I'll be misaligned with the clients, right? The clients would definitely take advantage of me. I remember clients who will be like at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. calls and strategies because that's the only time that client was available. And I'll be so miserable afterward because I'm exhausted and it's like it was just not working. Why? Because it's on me. If you say yes to a client, the responsibility ends with you, right? And then I was like, okay, cool. What's the issue? And I would say that we have poor communication, right? Misaligned clients, Americans love to say the cheapest client that you have on your books is the most demanding client. And if we are being honest, there's some truth to that saying, right? There was poor communication, there was no boundaries. So the client felt like they had 24/7 access to me. And a thing is, there was no room for growth because I'm already full, right? I have no room to take anybody else because I've said yes to so many offers on the table, right? So that is a sign. Like, do not say yes to every single offer that comes to you. You need to analyze and decide whether this will work for you or not. What other thing I would say to this myth of don't leave money on the table is that a lot of yeses led to burnout, or a lot of yeses lead to burnout, right? So when I was saying yes to every single inquiry that will come in, I'll have random tasks that I had to complete, right? Because when you're saying yes, you're saying to multiple clients, those are multiple different tasks. I had no alignment because at this moment, my alignment is I'm in a lot of operations tasks that I have to complete because I have had to change my strategy and a lot of strategy work I have to do. So I'm no longer doing entry level task based virtual assistant work, right? Because I've outgrown that. But when I used to say yes, it used to just be a random thing. Though it would be maybe editing some social media content. Maybe one client, it will be travel arrangement being done, and another client, it will be emails, right? And another client, it will be proposal, it will be research, and then another one, it will be event. I was all over the place, right? Those are random tasks. And what also resulted to that was scope that were not clear. My work scope was never clear because I would say yes without receiving the scope of work first, right? I'll be like, yeah, I can assist you with that, right? Because it's vague. When somebody's saying, can you help me with admin support? That's very vague, right? You actually have to ask, what does admin support look like for you? Or what are the admin support tasks you need assistance with? I wasn't doing that. I would just say yes, get paid, and then I'll realize that, oh my word, this person actually needs a business manager, not admin support, right? And then saying yes, what it led to burnout is that I had no boundaries, right? When you are just saying yes to money on the table, right? You are just taking anything, right? No boundaries meant that clients could call me at 7 a.m. They could call me at 11 p.m. I literally had no set structure. And it's not even the client's fault. I was starting out. So I had no structure for me as a business, right? You as a virtual assistant, as a service provider, you are also a business. So you need to have certain structure in play on how you handle your clients, right? So what changed is that my strategic no led to better positioning, right? I started to say no. I remember, I believe I've shared this before. There was a December where I had to offload or outboard or more than 3 clients. Why? Because I just could not take it. I was like, you know what? I'm so sorry. This will be our last month, and I can share documentation on how certain tasks were done, but I have to unfortunately let you go as a client. If you are listening to this episode, I want to assure you that everything I teach here, I actively do for my client. I have transitioned from basic virtual assistant to business management and operations. My work now focuses on empowering established business owners with implementing systems, SOPs, structures that will help them effectively run the business. So, if you are looking for executive support that will help you do the same for your business, I will encourage you to connect with me, Stephanie Lopepe. There's a link below this video, and then let's explore how we can work together. What my no started to mean is that I was more focused, right? I was like, I believe this season I'm a lot more focused than I was 3 years ago, right? I know what I want, right? I know where the goal is, and I know certain steps that I can achieve that goal, right? Or at least I know the first step, and everything builds from there. I'm a lot focused now because I'm saying no. I do remember when I was so proud of myself, inquiry came in, a lot vague, right? And then I did more research, and when I did the research and I realized what the scope could look like, I shared it back with a potential inquiry person that came through, and I told them, unfortunately, I have to decline this inquiry because this is how I would have to complete this work. You have no budget for the scope, and I'll have to let you go. Alternatively, once you figure out a budget, please let me know. I'll refer you to someone else. For the first time, I was not feeling guilty after saying no, right? So that is being focused, right? My no also meant that I built a lot more authority, right? When you have more capacity, like right now, the Art of Virtual Assisting platform, you can see that I'm more becoming a thought leader in the virtual assistant space. Why? Because I have had to say no to certain offer on the table in order to build this, right? And also, no meant that I'm now specializing, right? I'm no longer into the task-based virtual assisting. I'm now into more operations and business management, right? So now I'm slowly specializing, and I know with time I will even go niche and niche, right? So that's what no meant for me. Right. So now, when we are saying that leaving money on the table, like, oh, don't leave money on the table is not the best business advice, you got to figure out between your long term and your short term cash flow, right? Long term means that I'm saying no to now because I want to build capacity to have more aligned clients. So now I'm sacrificing the short term cash that I was meant to have for long term growth. That's what it means, right? So when I had offboarded those 3 clients, I started the new year with less clients, less money. But it created room for me to be more strategic with the new clients that came in, right? So that is the balance you gotta do. I'm saying no to the immediate cash flow that I could have had, and I'm saying yes to the long term, more aligned clients that I'm going to get, right? So now we are going to speak about our virtual assistant insight segment question. And today's question is, how do I know when to walk away from a client? Woo! Because I think sometimes service provider don't realize that you can say no. You can offboard a client, you can fire a client, right? It's not always the other way around. Both parties can let go of this work arrangement. So how do you know when it's time to walk away from this client? Is that the relationship is costing you more than it's growing you, right? When you're in a business relationship where you feel like you are giving more, like the sacrifices is more on your side, and you're not seeing or you're not experiencing the growth, then you know it's time to let go. We can even say that when you feel being exploited, right? In the corporate space, I was there for 7 years, and I know for a fact that that business took more from me than I took from that business, right? I know that my skills helped that company stay afloat, help the company grow, help the company expand. But for me, financially, I didn't grow. So you can apply the same principle as a service provider, as a virtual assistant. If you feel the client is taking more from you than what you are receiving back, then it's time to let go. And you probably need time to assess that. I took too long. 7 years was too long. I think as a service provider, maybe look at it whether it's 3 months, 6 months, just evaluate. Am I growing in my skills level? Am I growing financially? Am I expanding in my network? Is my portfolio growing? If no is to those answers, right? If the answer is no to those questions, then you know it is time to let go of a client, right? And also, the cost does not always have to be financially. It could be emotionally, right? Where you feel drained, where you feel like you are giving the client more than you need to, then it's time to let go. And also professionally, there are some clients that will cost you your reputation. There are some clients, when I mean cost your reputation, is a client that takes more, they're taking more of your time. That means that you probably have dropped the ball in your other deliveries with your other clients. It also probably means that you are not able to take on new opportunities. They are costing you professionally. So it's probably also a sign for you to either change the scope or equip the clients where they don't need you more often, where their internal team can take over, right? And another time to know that it's time to let go of the client is that the communication is not the best, right? Maybe you feel that it's more hostile, there's no harmony, there's no alignment, then you know it is time to let go of the client. And you gotta remember, walking away from that client doesn't mean you have failed. It just means that you have outgrown the client and you are trying to position yourself better in your industry. All right. So My advice for you as a service provider, as a virtual assistant, or as a business owner listening to this is that not every opportunity deserves your yes. You can say no, right? Sometimes it's okay to leave money on the table so that you can grow for the better and you can also attract more aligned business opportunities. All right, that is all for today. Do not forget to subscribe, to like, to comment, and to share with other people who would benefit from the information be shared on this platform. Until next time, bye.